Hey everybody, it's Peter. This is a 2023 Yamaha MT-09 and I'm filming it right now in January 2024, right before we're going to be filming the 2024 MT-09 to help you decide if you should save some money by buying the 2023 or if you should go for the 2024. Now, like I said, the 2024 not quite here yet. If you're interested in that model, make sure you subscribe to this channel because I will be reviewing it along with the entire Yamaha, Suzuki, all kinds of everything line. We'll be covering it all. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see that. But really what I want to do is, now that we know the 2024 is coming, we kind of know what it's about. We flat out have it on the website. In fact, the 2023 isn't even on the website anymore. But these are still around in the dealership. So what I want to do is give you a really in-depth overview of this bike, which is essentially the same as the 2024. But when the 2024 shows up, we'll go over some of the differences, and that way you can compare one to the other, and hopefully it'll help you decide which one's better for you. So I want to thank McLean Sports for giving me complete access to their entire vehicle lineup. If you want to check this bike out, this is a demo model, so not only is it a 2023, it's a 2023 that's a little bit more on sale again. And if you're anywhere near McLean Sports in Fredericton, New Brunswick, you can check this one out for yourself because maybe it'll be right for you. Let's get going with this review. All right, so let's place this MT-09 in the motorcycle world. First of all, Yamaha calls it the Hyper Naked, which I can only assume is not something you should also emulate on your dating profile. This thing is a naked bike. It's got no fairing. It's a sport bike that sits a little bit more upright, but different than a sport bike. It also probably is a little more wheelie friendly. It's all about entertainment and entertaining riding. So again, it's not something you're tucked in real tight and made for super, super fast laps of the racetrack, but you could absolutely do fast laps on the racetrack on it, but it's more for your everyday riding while giving you a really powerful engine. One of the key differences between the MT-09 and the MT-07 is that you've now added an extra cylinder. So you go from a twin cylinder MT-07 to a 3-cylinder MT-09. All of the MT lineup sounds pretty great. The MT-09 is no exception, probably one of the best ones. There is also a model of the MT-09 that's higher than this one here, but to me, part of the benefit of the MT-09 lineup is that it's a real value kind of shopper's bike. And what I mean by that is it's not a cheap bike in any way. You get a lot of things thrown into this that you wouldn't get in other models. So this is kind of the best price point to get a lot of those key components. So let's talk about briefly those key components that I'm going to talk about. You have an IMU. What that does is it can sense the lean angle of the bike, both wheeling, both side to side and that kind of thing. And it can adjust things like ABS, traction control, anti-wheelie, that kind of stuff. So that's built into a bike like this. A lot of bikes like this, a lot of bikes that have that are significantly more expensive than this. And that's kind of, not rare in the class, but certainly not common in the class either. So you get that, and it seems like on this bike you don't really pay a whole lot of extra compared to other bikes that don't have that. So that's kind of an interesting piece of this bike. One thing I'll tell you right now, if you're waiting for the 2024, if the dash matters to you, and we will show you the dash in this video, wait for the 2024. This one's not great. It tells you what you need to tells you what it needs to tell you, but it's about 3.5 inches. The new one's 5 inches. It's going to be better. Let's start talking about this bike as far as the actual details. We'll start at the very front wheel. We'll work our way back, come back to the dash. We'll complete everything over. So let's start at the front wheel. So if you've seen my videos before, you'll very, very often hear me say you can tell the manufacturer's intent for the bike by looking at the front wheel. So let's start and see what the manufacturer did here. First of all, you have Battle Axe Hypersport S22F tires. These are tires that you don't usually see on a bike of this price, and that makes it interesting to me. Again, it steps up their performance. You also have upside down forks. They're fully adjustable. You have radial mount calipers, sport bike tires, sport bike sizing and that kind of thing, and they make a big deal about sort of these light rims. Now, I'm not sure that they're that much lighter than anything else in the class, but because they make a big deal about it, there may be some grams savings here and there. You also have some nice aerodynamics here. Overall, again, a naked bike isn't really about aerodynamics, but you have some areas to keep the fork tubes clean of bugs and that kind of thing, which is going to keep your seals there nice. So why do you have upside down forks on a sport bike? Well, first of all, you have less unsprung weight, so that's going to give you more precise suspension control. It also gives you a stiffer top part, which is where the forces are on the bike itself. So you have basically a full-on sport setup here, especially with those adjustable suspension that you don't always have on everything in its class. So let's take a look at the heart of this bike over here. What you have is a pretty cool frame design for the class, not sort of simple steel tubes, but you've got everything set up there nicely. And then it's a triple engine. So it's a 3-cylinder engine, inline triple, and it makes about 117 horsepower, which is pretty class competitive, 69 foot-pounds of torque. So you've got good power here, and the torque number is kind of the big thing. It's a very torquey engine, makes power, you know, a little bit more broad range of power than something like a true sport bike or something like that. The other thing that's interesting here, let me just make sure you can see it in the shot. Yeah, okay, you can see it. The exhaust and everything runs down here. There's no side pipe on here, so you've got everything running down low. What that does is it eliminates a lot of weight that comes up high. This bike is about how it feels to ride. It's got plenty of power, but it's also going to handle very well with the lower weight. Now let's take a look at what it looks like with me on the bike and seating position. So one thing you're not going to see on camera with the MT-09 is there's a lot of width over here, but there isn't a lot of length overall here. So the bike feels like it's got, you know, a lot going on here as far as big engine, but it feels like a very, very compact bike, which is kind of cool. Jumping on it, you can see I'm about 6 feet tall. I am flat footing. Both feet are flat, normal. So again, I drive a Kawasaki Z900 RS, the retro sport 900cc competitor of this. And this one feels significantly lighter, more nimble. The seat here, even though the tank comes out quite wide at the top part, the seat down here is very, very narrow, and that makes it feel very, you know, tight and compact. Your legs kind of tuck in underneath that big bulging area. So you've got the sport kind of angle to your legs here, but not an uncomfortable angle. As far as a lean forward, you can see, you know, very comfortable. I'm not leaned way forward. You could go back and go in for a full tuck if you wanted to, like a sport bike, but you can also ride this thing very comfortably up top. Seat is fine. You know, all these class, they have fairly firm seat, very comfortable seat. It's not a, you know, gold wing seat or something like that, but it's going to be perfectly fine for most riding. The grips feel a little thicker. I don't know if these are aftermarket or not. They might be. I can't really tell. But yeah, everything, you know, riding position, comfort, very, very good on these bikes, and that's part of why they're so popular. So I've got the camera set up here on a very, very wide angle. We're gonna look at the good and the bad in this 2023 model. So let's zoom in right here to the good. You have adjustable suspension. So that's, of course, in my mind, really nice because you can really tailor this to the type of roads you're doing, the type of riding you do, more aggressive, less aggressive. You can kind of tweak it on the go. You do need a tool there. It is, you know, sort of a flat screwdriver kind of thing to adjust things. So it's not like a KTM where you can switch it just with your hands. But again, to have adjustable suspension is not fully common in this class. It's certainly not without stepping up in the price range, so that's nice to have. Now let's kind of jump up from there and see if we can go up a little bit and take a look at the not as good, not my favorite part, by zooming into the dash here. So the dash is going to look great on your screen because I've zoomed right in, but this is a small 3.5-inch screen. Like I said, the 2024 is going to give you a 5-inch screen. 5 inch is really what you need for a TFT display in a modern bike. And you can see one of the things that you're going to find is 0 to about 4,000 to 5,000 RPM is so small. Like it's just the width of my finger or the width of my thumb from 0 to 4,000 RPM. Now again, you're not really driving with the bike in that range, but again, the tach doesn't tell you anything down low. Now again, do you need the tach down low? Probably not, but it's too small. What you do have though is a very legible dash. You can see quick shifter is on here, so it's one thing that's nice to have. Now the quick shifter is kind of cool. You can set it up to either be on or off, but you can also set it for only upshifts or only downshifts. You can turn just the upshift on or the downshift on, which is just you know, worth pointing out. 6-speed transmission, gear indicator of course up there. You've got odometer, other kinds of things. Traction control modes. Again, this thing has the IMU with the ABS, so as you're cornering, as you're leaning the bike one side or the other, the bike does know that it's leaning. It can adapt to that. It also has some wheelie control, anti-lift that you can turn on and off with various levels of, for instance, the traction control and that kind of thing. So you do have an informative dash, but it is a little small for modern standards. Now again, the only thing you're actually losing is the lower end of the tach, which, let's be honest, you're probably looking at that side of the tach for interest more than for information that you actually need. Drive modes are on here as well. It's a D mode right there. We're going to cycle through them. We'll go to 3, we'll go to 2, go to 1, and then go back to 4. So you've got those 4 drive modes in there as well. Taking a look at the controls here, you have the little trigger right there for your high beam, otherwise it's just high and low beam right there. Signals, horn, hazard lights, which I like to see, or 4-way flashers. And then this is that, I was choosing the drive modes here, so this is a multi-selection piece to adjust your TFT display. But there's an other piece that can adjust things in your TFT display. Let's show you that on the other side. Over on the throttle side here, you can see your stop or kill switch, stops, run, start. So that's your start switch, kill switch, all built into one. And then you have this menu wheel here, which can be pressed in to select and rolled up and down. So that's a pretty good solution to moving a TFT around without having a huge set of controls. So sometimes there's a lot of buttons on things, but when you design a menu system around a simple control, a lot of times everything becomes a little bit more intuitive on how to work everything. Sometimes it can add extra menus and that kind of thing, but you do have the ability to select that all on this side. So you have pretty good control of a relatively small screen. We should take a look at the front end of this bike because this is one of the changes that's going to happen for 2024. This is the last of the 2023s. Now let's talk about it. You have that single projector beam headlight right here on the 2023. You have these extra driving lights there. Now a lot of people don't realize that these extra driving lights actually do a lot to illuminate road signs because some of these headlights have such sharp cutoffs that they're so bright and clean cutoff that they don't actually eliminate some of the extra external things such as reflective signs. So lighting up your stop sign sometimes, certainly lighting up your overhead lights. Sometimes these are useful at night for just that. You'll also see you've got like a lot of Yamahas, the MT series, they have the marker lights out on the side, so you have a little bit extra width there. But this is changing for 2024. So if this is something you absolutely love and absolutely have to have, there's the 2023 for you. So that's the basic recap of the 2023 MT-09, but let's just glance at what's coming on at the 2024. So a couple key things are coming. First of all, they're calling it sharper, more compact looks, including a redesigned bifunctional LED headlight. So you're getting an LED headlight that's redesigned, you're getting a little different styling. You know, that may or may not matter. I don't know that that moves the needle too much for people. Big thing you're getting is that new 5-inch color, full color TFT screen with smartphone connectivity and navigation. Now that to me appeals. First of all, I mentioned the size of this, but the smartphone connectivity is nice to have because usually I can tell you things like your messages and that kind of thing, but it's also likely to have some turn-by-turn navigation things right in the screen, so you don't have to have a cell phone there as a GPS, or you don't have to have everything else. You should be able to work that TFT display with some navigational aids, and to me that has some value because you're not placing a different kind of GPS on the bars there. There's also customizable riding experience via Yamaha ride control settings, so we'll look into what that is for the 2024. I haven't done the full research on that to be fully positive, although I have some idea of what that's about. One thing that's sort of hidden in here is that 6-axis IMU. So again, that's the thing that can sense whether the bike is leaning left or right, whether it's coming up, doing a stoppie, doing a wheelie, all kinds of things, and even twisting on some of those axes. That 6-axis IMU that controls things is also going to have, has various rider aids, but it's also going to have back slip regulator. Haven't looked into what that exactly means, but yeah, we'll figure out what that is completely and describe that on the 2024 video when we get that here. So big thing you're getting is that TFT display with more functionality and better sizing. Redesigned looks, which I don't think are going to be a huge change for some people. Some people, if you have to have the latest thing, you're going to want that, but that'll just be up to you. But the other thing worth noting is there's a price increase for those things. So this has always been a value bike, but they are jumping it up in price. It's still going to be fairly good value, but the screaming good deal right now is still the 2023. So let's talk about who this bike is for and maybe who it's not for. If the value and the sporting nature of the MT-09 has always appealed to you, in my opinion, if that's your number one thing, buy the 2023. Find one that hasn't sold in a dealer, or find one like this that's a demo model that that's still sitting at a dealer, and buy that one because it's probably going to give you the most bike for value when you talk about fun fact. You've got great tires, you've got that IMU that's really going to control some of your electronics, you've got great electronics built into it, traction controls, drive modes, all that kind of thing. And even aside from all that, you've got a great engine, great suspension setup, adjustable suspension, and it's a lot of fun to ride. So fun for $1 as well as pretty good technology for $1, the 2023 is there. The 2024 does add for me things that I would want to wait for probably. That bigger display screen, I like the look of it. I think it's going to work better. And I also like the idea of a little bit of smartphone connectivity. I don't always like my messages going there, but sometimes it's nice to know if you've got a message. It's also nice to know if you can have some navigation in there, including turn-by-turn directions into your dash. That can clean up your dash, make it easier to get some navigation information from the dash instead of having to put a secondary unit on there, which just makes it cleaner and better to drive with that way. So that's your kind of deciding factor between the two in my books. The MT-09 is still going to continue to compete strongly in the class. It is an absolute blast to drive. It's very approachable. It's easy to manage. Like I said, there's a step up from this. You can add some technology on. We can talk about that as it comes in. But the basic MT-09, I think for a lot of people, is absolutely the best first full power bike you've got. When I say full power, you're getting up around that 1000cc mark. This is going to give you the most fun for a dollar out of just about any bike out there. So hopefully that helps you with the 2023. When the 2024 comes out, we're going to really dig in deep on that one. Make sure you have every piece of information you could want to know. So make sure you subscribe if you made it this far. And again, if you want this bike here, swing on by McLean's Power Sports, McLean Sports here in Fredericton, New Brunswick. They have it in stock right now, January 2024, and they have new bikes coming in all the time. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.